Names, photographs, and persons depicted on Fugitive Watch are presumed to be innocent unless proven guilty in a court of law.
Oh my God, we're back. And look who it is. The original OG, Steve Ferdine, Fugitive Watch, legend. Steve, what's going on?
Not too much, Mark. Thanks for having me on the show.
Did we fire Scott? Is he done now, Scott? He got in too much trouble?
He's visiting Princess Leia and the Jedi over in Mickey Mouse Land right now.
Star Wars land right now. Tell us about what's going on there in the background. What do you got? Tell us about the history there behind you.
The Huelga flag. Back in I think about 1970, a federal judge had ordered Cesar Chavez, the president of the United Farm Workers Union, to end the lettuce strike in Salinas, and he refused to do that. So the judge said, "Well, I'm gonna put you in jail until you end the strike." And people had gone to the it was Christmas Eve, and we had gone to the jail as a demonstration in solidarity with the United Farm Workers strike, and they allowed a few visitors to go in, and he signed my Huelga flag for me.
And Steve, you're a San Jose native, right?
I was born actually in Oakland and raised in Union City, California.
And your law enforcement career before San Jose PD, where you retired from, before that, you're with the Santa Clara Sheriff's Department, correct?
Correct. I did. I started off with the BART Police Department in '73, and then I went to the East Bay Regional Parks Police Department in '74, and then in '75 with the Sheriff's Office. Did 7 years.
Tell me the story. I love the story. I'm putting you on the spot here about how you had to go pick a gun because you didn't know much about guns when you got hired.
Oh yeah. Did I tell you
what year was it? What year was it?
That happened to be about 1973 or so when I first got hired as a police officer. They had the uniform store, Hayward Uniforms, and I had to go buy my uniforms, and I had to buy a gun, and I didn't know the first thing about handguns. I had hunted before, so I had a rifle, but I didn't know anything about handguns. So in the uniform store, they had the glass case with handguns there, and I told the store owner, "Hey, I got hired as a police officer. I need to buy uniforms and a gun." So after he sized me up for my uniforms, he said, "Okay, what gun you want?" And I'm looking at all the revolvers and the semi-automatic pistols, and I asked him, "Well, what's the difference between the round guns and the square guns?" Well, the revolvers and the semi-autos, but I called them the square guns and the round guns. And he says, "Well, you don't know too much about guns, do you?" I said, "No." He says, "Well, you should probably stick with the round gun."
You start with a revolver there, right? Nice.
Yeah.
Just point and shoot. And then
Yeah.
That's the law enforcement career began.
Yes, sir. That's how it started.
Then you and Scott, Scott and I talked about this a couple weeks ago. Let me pop up the website here. You and Scott started Fugitive Watch on cable back in '92. It eventually became a newspaper and then a show. And you were the host. I mean, we have a lot of people that follow you now on Instagram and Facebook, and they remember, they grew up watching you. You're the guy, man. You're the guy on there all those years hosting those shows.
Yeah, it was really quite an eye opener for me, because I didn't expect it to take off to become so popular. And Scott and I would get recognized in the car wash or the grocery store, or sometimes some very awkward places we get recognized.
So I lived down in Morgan Hill, and sometimes we hang out at the tavern down there at Morgan Hill Tavern. And I brought you and Scott in there one afternoon about a year and a half ago, and we were in there for drinks, just like 2 o'clock or something, And man, you were getting some looks, dude. You were getting some looks like, I know that guy.
Yeah, I had always told my wife at the time that, you know, if somebody ever confronted us, you know, while we were shopping or something, to just walk away and get to a payphone and call the police. And one time I was at the Orchard Supply hardware store, and this really scary looking biker looking guy was just staring at me in the checkout line. And I go, oh, this guy either recognizes me as a police officer, or he recognizes me from Fugitive Watch. And because I had spent 2 years working at the jail, so a lot of times I would get recognized from working in the jail by former inmates. And finally he walks up to me, and I'm thinking he's going to really, you know, start some crap with me, and he sticks his hand out. He says, "Oh, you know, hey, God
You,
bless you. You know, you're doing the Lord's work. You know."
he didn't say you made him famous or anything like that.
No, he was just like, oh, you're doing the Lord's work. God bless you. You know, it's just such an honor to meet you here in the Orchard Supply grocery checkout line.
Well, again, Steve, a lot of people are happy to see you back. Welcome back, and let's go ahead. Let's break down a few stories here. This is the website fugitive.com. You can also follow us on Facebook at Fugitive Watch, and the Instagram page at Fugitive Watch. And we got a couple just things here. I think the first one we're going to talk about here is Dallas police officer. Sadly, this is remembering J.D. Tippett. What's going on?
Oh yeah, it was
and JD's memory.
61 years this November that President John F. Kennedy was assassinated, and another unfortunate death that happened that was related to President Kennedy's assassination that was overshadowed is Dallas police officer J.D. Tippett, who ran across Oswald about 30 minutes or so after he had killed President Kennedy. And Tippett pulled a gun on him on a pedestrian stop, and shot him, I think, like 4 times, and killed him, and then took off running.
So Oswald pulled a gun on Tippett.
He totally caught Officer Tippett by surprise. Officer Tippett was a World War II veteran, a paratrooper, and he had actually been wounded in combat and awarded the Purple Heart, but he refused to wear it because he thought that his wound wasn't serious enough that he should wear it. He said people who are more seriously wounded should wear the Purple Heart. Okay. That's the kind of man he was.
So if you haven't followed Steve on fugitive.com, he posts a lot of stories about memorials to police officers and some major events. Also, a lot of the cartel information wars going on down in Mexico. Steve has always been a go-to source for what's going on there. Okay, next we're going to go up. We got a woman here wanted for allegedly randomly stabbing tourists in Manhattan. Want to tell us what's happening? I'll play the video here.
Good evening, everyone.
It's happened again. Another tourist minding his business.
So we'll just go ahead and react to this, okay, Steve?
Unprovoked
okay,
attack.
yeah, sure, yeah.
This time it happened in Midtown Manhattan this morning. The 42-year-old
New York Police Department is
man
asking for the public's help to identify this woman. The victim is an Italian, a tourist from Italy who was visiting New York City. He's actually a professor. He was gonna guest lecture at the university there in New York City, and he really loves New York City. He's been in New York City quite a few times, and is quite a fan of New York City. And this woman just randomly walked up to him and began slashing at him with a knife. And according to the New York Police Department, this is not the first random attack on a tourist. A couple weeks earlier, a Danish tourist was stabbed by a different person, and that suspect was arrested. But this woman still needs to be identified.
Yeah, and what can they do when someone has any information on who? I know they have the Crime Stoppers number up there, but how do they get a hold of Fugitive Watch?
They can, the best way is to send us a tip at tips@fugitive.com, TIPS@fugitive.com, and we can get the information to the appropriate investigator.
Okay, let's move on to, let's see, we got Santa Monica police released video of officer fatal shooting in Santa Monica, and you want to go explain this one?
Nervous?
Yeah, Mark. In this case, this this suspect stole some knives, a set of knives from a local Target there in Santa Monica, and was running out the store, and one of the employees tried to stop him, and he used force to steal the set of knives, and he took the knives and he walked down to the local to the Santa Monica Police Department and tried to get in the front door and was confronted by a police officer wanting to know. There's the video of him stealing the knives and assaulting the employee.
Wow.
And he's running out of the store there.
Have you been to Santa Monica lately?
No, I have not. That
I
has been
mean,
years since I've been to Santa Monica.
so I broke in with the Highway Patrol in the 90s there, and I would hang out in Santa Monica a lot and patrol outside of there. And beautiful town, love going there. But man, lately that promenade down there is a ghost town. It's COVID just wiped it out, and the homeless took over, and
Oh,
the
that's too
crime,
bad.
and that whole area there. I think it will come back now with some of the laws changing, but man, it really has seen some hard times in Santa Monica.
No, that's too bad.
The promenade there.
Yeah, you can see him there. He's at the front door to the police department, and the officer says, "Hey, you know what? Why do you have your hand in your coat? You're making me a little nervous." And he says, "I'm making you nervous." And then he just suddenly pulls a knife out and lunges at the officer and stabs the officer several times before the officer is even able to defend himself.
All right. Hey, any of you following us on the chat, I'm hoping you can hear us both, Scott and Steve and me. Let us know in the chat if you can hear everything good. And we will move on to, let's see here. And here we go. I got something to say about this. The Highway Patrol is back. And now, besides Oakland, we're also going to be in BART. And I'll start
calls
this
to
part
control
here.
crime on BART.
Go ahead, Steve.
Well, Mark, you know, it's no secret that BART has been suffering from especially since COVID, with what appears to be a rise in violent crime against passengers, commuters, and people and employees. And the image, the police department disagrees with this, but the image is that the police department doesn't have a handle on it. But the chief of police says that we do have a handle on it, and we're only reflecting what's going on in the surrounding communities. But there are community groups and business organizations that are demanding that the Highway Patrol supplement the BART Police Department and bring security back and safety back to the BART system, so that we can get the commuters back on the system again, and so that they feel safe. Apparently they don't, according to these community groups and these business groups, that the public doesn't feel safe riding the system, especially late at night coming home from work.
So this is the thing that's been going on a lot, and we have Oakland Impact. I don't know if they call it Impact still, but when I was a Highway Patrol officer, they used to send us into Oakland 2 deep, 5 cars, and then maybe a 6-car supervisor, helicopter, the whole bit, and we shut East Oakland down. I mean, crime would build up. Oakland PD is overwhelmed, and then we go in there and force in the Highway Patrol and really kind of lock it down. And it works. It really does. The good people in Oakland love it when we're there, when we're enforcing laws. And I'm going to say this again. Enforcing basic vehicle violations, license plate issues, tags, tinted windows, mechanical violations is the way to go. And when these communities take that power away from their officers because they want to say, oh, you're hurting people that, can't afford to fix this. Hey, all you're doing is giving the criminals an excuse to keep driving around, because it's the basic vehicle stops that will find the bad guys. The bad guys are using vehicles with the wrong license plates on it. They're using vehicles with coal plates on it, where they've stolen vehicles, and then they put a non-stolen license plate on to get around. And officers stopping everybody for a mechanical violation, the Highway Patrol officers, what they're really good at, or whatever the violation may be, and just figuring out who's who. Just because you make a lot of car stops does not mean you have to write a ticket. There's no rule saying you have to write a ticket. And officers know this, and their supervisors know this. All they have to do, they can issue verbal warnings all day long. And when they find the people really committing crime, they can enforce it. And when the Highway Patrol goes out in force, I've seen it in Oakland, I've seen it in Richmond, I've seen it in East Palo Alto back in the day. Hunters Point, it shuts it down while we're there. And it gives the OPD, Richmond PD, chance to, and I'm just talking about Richmond because I did it years ago, gives them a chance to go ahead and focus on some other stuff. But I'll tell you what, the bad guys do not like it when the CHP is in town. And those first couple nights that happens, there's a bunch of chases and there's some shootings and stuff like that. But that's what you're dealing with in some of these communities. But the good people of the community like to see us out there.
Yeah, Mark, I was mentioning this to you the other day that there seems to be quite a bit of demand being placed on the Highway Patrol for services that they really weren't cut out for. And I don't mean any disrespect to the Highway Patrol. I love the guys. I can't tell you how many.
That's all changed. I'll get into that with you.
I can't tell you how many times when I was a sheriff's deputy, alone out in the rural parts of Santa Clara County, that they were my only backup, and they really bailed me out and saved my bacon a few times. But it seemed that there's being a lot of demands made on them and I'm just wondering how that's going to affect the department.
Well, let's get into that a little bit. So there's about 7,000, I don't know, it could be up or down, Highway Patrol officers at any given time. It's probably down from that. Throughout the state. The Highway Patrol is the state police. There used to be a state police back up until 1994. There's about 400 state police officers. They handled all the terminals, transportation terminals, the state capitol, the courts, and stuff like that. And there's about 400 of them statewide. In the 90s, the governor at the time merged the Highway Patrol and the state police into the Highway Patrol. Those 400 or so officers were the only ones to come into the Highway Patrol in the 94 area there. And were the only Highway Patrol officers, because they became Highway Patrol officers at that point, that never actually went to the Highway Patrol Academy. I came in the late 90s. At that time, the old badges were traffic officers. They used to say traffic officers on them. And then the laws changed, the penal codes changed to give CHP officers full peace officer power. So the badges in the mid-90s changed from traffic officer to peace officer. My badge, my retired badge, says peace officer on it. And with that, as time went on, by the time I broke into LA and then I came out to San Jose, we started getting these freeway shootings that San Jose PD and Sunnyvale DPS and stuff used to handle. But things got tight, and we'd have a shooting on Lawrence Expressway or sometimes on 101. And there were some confrontations with the departments about who's going to handle it. And finally, the Highway Patrol started taking these shooting investigations over. And now they have full teams, the investigators in the CHP in Northern California, Golden Gate Division, and Southern California that actually handle all the freeway shootings. So you have all the shootings in Oakland, the Highway 4 corridor, up and down, and then stuff in LA. There are trained Highway Patrol investigators that go to homicide school, that go to shooting schools, investigator schools. Besides doing all the auto theft and cargo theft and all the other stuff that we do, these guys specialize in the shootings and the homicides. And so in the last 10 years, they have really geared up, and now they have prosecuted some great cases, gang-wise cases, gang shootings, up and down the state. And they really kind of handle it themselves. Not only that, the Highway Patrol now also has taken a lot of their investigators off of auto theft and some of these other jobs, and they put them onto the retail crime task forces. I mean, the CHP leads that in both Northern and Southern California.
Yeah, I see that, yeah.
And that's a big political issue. The governor's all over that. And yeah, so getting to the point about BART, I don't know what's going to happen there, but there's a lot of resources for the Highway Patrol being stretched out like all agencies, but the state is kind of the big dog. In reality, it's not the biggest agency. This LAPD and LASO are bigger, but the state is the state police, and the Highway Patrol needs to step in as the governor directs to help out the agencies that need the help. And I know the officers are thrilled to do that type of work. I also know they were in the Tenderloin helping out there. It's overtime for the officers. I mean, someone's paying for it,
right?
And that money's coming from somewhere. But it's
so
given them.
So being in overtime, then that means that they're not taking resources away from the freeway patrols that are the normal freeway patrols, right?
Right, but as you know, being a cop, I mean, a lot of us work 60 to 80 hours a week sometimes, and it's brutal. It could be hard.
Sure.
You know, a lot of guys are making extra money working longer hours, and it could be rough on people. So I hope now that things are changing in law enforcement and the way the laws are going to change now with some of these laws being repealed, that more people will find this career. It's a very rewarding career. Highway patrol officers can work anywhere in the state once they do their initial times in the Bay Area or LA area. They make usually within 5% of the bigger agencies. So like San Jose PD or any of these other agencies, they're probably making within 5% of those agencies. Plus they get to, eventually they can live out in the mountains and make that big money.
Well, there you go. There you go, Highway Patrol. You just got a free commercial for recruiting.
That's right.
Keep us in mind. We could use your advertising that money.
All right. So again, go check in your local Highway Patrol office and or send me a message and I'll hook you up with somebody if you want to do if you're interested in joining. Okay, let's move on here. Hillsborough deputy. Get you back on camera here. Hillsborough deputy shooting armed man caught on camera. Hillsborough, Florida. Where are we at here? Or is this?
Yeah, I think this is Hillsborough, Florida. Mark, you're gonna have to run this one. I'm not really sure the details on this one here. What happened on this one here?
I think this is
With breaking news tonight, newly released body camera video from the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office shows the tense moments during a traffic stop that ended when a driver was shot and killed. News Channel 8's Georgia MacArthur has the video and she joins us live from the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office in Ybor City, Georgia.
Ty, the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office says the deputies were forced to defend themselves after the suspect grabbed his firearm during the traffic stop in Tampa.
How you doing? Good.
Hillsborough County deputies say it was supposed to be a routine traffic stop for an obscure tag on West Hillsborough Avenue and Elliott Drive in Tampa.
Yeah, from what I
Saturday
understand happened on this one is that the officer was caught off guard by a suspect who was armed in a car stop, which is one of the more dangerous activities that police officers and deputy sheriffs get involved in. And he basically ambushed the officer.
I'm going to try to see if you can play the audio here again.
Okay.
Related. In the body camera video, the suspect who was pulled over briefly showed his hands. The deputy then asked him to exit his car.
Anybody else in your car?
Nobody. You're going to see here he's asking the suspect to exit the car.
At this point, the suspect reached for a firearm.
Hey, whoa, hey!
The suspect began to.
So the officer sees him going for the firearm.
Exit the car.
Yeah, and fortunately, he has a backup officer on the passenger side that sees the firearm also and opens fire.
It was completely unknown what he was walking into tonight, and it didn't matter because we were ready for it. So it's a tragic situation.
So it's just another one of these situations where the officers, have to be careful. And if you notice, he was on the driver's side. There's also some techniques where you go on the passenger side, depending on where you're at. But luckily, the officers got a drop on him. It looks like.
Yeah. In this case here, the officer survived, and the suspect did not.
We like that.
Yeah, that's a good ending.
I can say that, right? I'm retired. I can say what I want.
Sure, that's a good ending.
We're retired. We can do what we want now. We can say whatever we want. Okay. Hey, I got something I want to talk about. We're going to come right back. We're going to go into, I'm a private investigator at stolen911.com. That's what I do now. I kind of specialize in theft. We'll be back in a few seconds. I want to show Steve a video. Hopefully you can hear the audio. I'm not sure if he will, but you guys will hear the audio. And kind of a new concern is coming up if you have a Wi-Fi security camera on your front door. All right. And we'll be back in about, 30 seconds.
Stolen 911 is fighting back against thieves. Was your classic car stolen? Maybe a thief took that one-of-a-kind work of art. No matter what was stolen, post your story to Stolen 911 to generate leads and get it back.
All right, we're back. We're in stolen 911 mode now, Scott. Steve. I'm going to call you Scott.
Okay.
Yeah, so if you want to see, my website is Stolen 911, and I do this. I have all these cases on there. I've been doing it since 2007, since I was a CHP officer. and I have cases help people find their stolen stuff. A lot of cars on here, stuff like that. But I saw this one story, and this is pretty interesting to me. Let's see. Steve, I'm going to walk you through it if you just want to watch. I'm sorry if you can't hear it.
High-tech crime. Homeowners with surveillance cameras and even alarm systems really need to hear about this sophisticated new trend.
Authorities say crooks are using Wi-Fi jammers to disable those systems. Local 10's Laren Livingston is live in Miami to explain this all for us. Laren.
So basically, crooks are apparently using Wi-Fi jammers to jam a security camera's signal at the front door. I don't know about you, Steve, but I had them until recently. I had these cameras on my front where they were just Wi-Fi. They weren't actually hardwired into the system. And there was no SD card on the camera. So everything had to be into the cloud, which got there through my Wi-Fi system, okay? But the crooks have now found a way around that, apparently.
And the gentleman you're about to hear from, he is convinced that this is what happened to him over the weekend. And now we're learning that this isn't the first time it's happened, and police say it may be the first time it's happened here in our neck of the woods, and either way, they want you to be aware of it.
The doorbell camera catches the first delivery and another the next day.
Okay, so we had a doorbell camera shows 2 deliveries at this guy's apartment. He's not home. 2 normal deliveries here, doorbell camera's picking it up.
A few hours later, this guy appears eyeing those 2 packages.
So that guy shows up, he sees the 2 packages, but he walks off.
You see them, there's no one in front of my door, and then all of a sudden, poof, they disappear.
Roger Williams is convinced our mystery man is his porch pirate and
that the suspect?
So the guy you just saw is the owner behind the door there. He thinks this is the guy who ended up stealing those packages, but you never see him walk up to the door.
Savvy one.
I think he may have used some sort of scrambler for my internet connection.
Roger lives at the 4 Ambassadors.
He was able to disable the camera?
He was out of town when his uninvited guest showed up this past Sunday, but his camera was working just fine.
You could see him.
So the camera was working fine, but all of a sudden there's a gap in recording. And then when it comes back on, the packages are gone.
Doing something on his phone. And then he disappears around the corner.
So in his hand, maybe his phone or some sort of device that could be some sort of jammer jamming all the Wi-Fi signals within that immediate area. I guess they don't talk about that, but I would check with all the other camera systems and see if there's an anomaly of all the systems losing signal at that time, because I've seen cell phone jammers and Wi-Fi jammers work in the past. I've seen them in demonstrations and conferences and stuff like that. And when it happens, everyone loses a signal, not just, you know, a targeted one. Maybe they got more sophisticated, I don't know.
And then right after that,
the camera feed suddenly stops. When it starts working again, Roger's packages are gone.
So the camera feed was fine, it stops, and then it starts again and his packages are gone.
Roger says that's his porch pirate, though, there in the elevator, and what appear to be his stolen packages being stuffed in a bag.
So this is footage of the same guy now later afterwards in the elevator with his putting them in a bag.
Around the same time, his camera feed dropped out. Roger says when he contacted his doorbell camera company,
they told me that the signal had degraded during that period, but they couldn't tell me whether or not it was hacked or whatever. They just blamed it on my internet.
As technology.
So the doorbell company, I think that was a Ring, said, well, the internet signal went out. But their theory is that the signal went out, and it sounds plausible because the guy used some sort of jammer. And these jammers, Steve, you can buy them on Amazon, just like the same devices you can use to hack cars with now too.
Is becoming more and more sophisticated. We need to evolve.
Miami police are still investigating Roger's theft, but the idea of crooks using Wi-Fi jammers isn't.
These are some of the jammers that are available online, and these will shut down signals. Illegal to use, by the way, but apparently not illegal to buy. Got to get Jeff Bezos to stop selling this stuff. I'm assuming it's Jeff.
Yeah, no kidding.
Don't sue me, Jeff. Okay. Amazon. All right.
Far-fetched. Police in California put residents on alert about it earlier this spring.
Cameras with an SD card.
So Glendale PD also has already warned people down in Southern Cal that, you know, besides all the insurance fraudsters in Glendale, California, they have to worry about people going there and doing these jammers to jam security systems.
Card that will continue to record even when it's not connected on Wi-Fi is always a great idea. Or a traditional regular hardwired camera.
Something to think about, especially as prime package pirating season.
Yeah, we're gonna have to
approaches.
get the lawmakers to pass a new law now.
Yeah. So, the main thing about this is that this is something to think about if you have a Wi-Fi camera only. Now, a way around it would be to have a camera that also records into an SD card built into the camera that would also be recording besides the Wi-Fi signal. Or hardwire a camera that goes to somewhere where it's being recorded without using the internet. So something to think about now as things change, and now we're all going to have to upgrade our cameras, apparently.
Oh, great. The cameras are not cheap.
They're not cheap at all. They're all not cheap. Okay, let's go here. All right. Hey, well, thanks for joining us. I have to, Steve, thanks for coming on. I know we're still getting this format down. I didn't watch any of those stories other than the camera one prior to this. So I think it's better sometimes if we can react to it. One of us watches it and then we can react to it and get our own input on what's going on here in some of these cases. But are you gonna welcome Scott back next week?
Sure. Yeah, he's welcome back. Yeah, after he comes back. I'm sure he probably fell in love with Princess Leia by now.
So actually, Scott's on there right now. He says in the chat, hey, if you want to talk to Scott, he's in line at Disneyland right now, chatting from his phone, and he said that's why I have both types. He said, that guy's all about the technology, man. He's got the. You ever see Scott's Xbox setup when he plays Call of Duty? He's got the 85-inch TV. Yeah, it's pretty,
I've talked to him on the phone. I could tell he's multitasking. He's playing Call of Duty when he's talking on the phone. I hear this click, click, click.
Exactly. All right, that's it. So listen, if you want, please visit us at fugitive.com. Hey, Steve.
Excuse me.
Bless you. Is there anything you want to say about all these people that we feature on television here?
Yeah, we want to remind everybody we don't want to get keep ourselves out of court. So everybody you've seen on Fugitive Watch is to be considered innocent unless proven guilty in a court of law.
That's right.
Do not make any attempt to approach, apprehend, or detain any of the suspects you see on Fugitive Watch. If you recognize anybody, you can either call 911 or you can send us a tip at tips@fugitive.com.
That's right. And remember, you can find me at Stolen 911. Just Google it, Stolen 911. If you need the help of a private investigator, we're in the South Bay, and we also work down in LA on car issues and stuff like that. But if you need a private investigator, just look me up at Stolen 911. Steve, thanks a lot. I'm still going to try to lobby to get us to do a broadcast from some East Side bar. I don't know if you're going to actually go to that one, but if we could find some East Side bar that would want to do it, I'm sure some of our featured fugitives might be there with us, from back in the day. It'd be like a reunion.
Yeah, that would be interesting.
Yeah, it would be interesting, wouldn't it? Okay. All right, guys. Thanks a lot for following us. Thanks for being patient with us, and we really appreciate your support. Steve, I'll talk to you later.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.